After 2 years of caring for the paralyzed CEO Ethan Lucas, he recovered. His first act was to propose to Emily Carter, the first love who'd once abandoned him. Media outlets praised their unwavering devotion and storybook ending. Tess stared silently at the proposal broadcast on the city square's giant screen, tossing the ring from her pocket into a trash can. Her debt to him was finally repaid. Pedestrians froze mid-step across Riverside City, all eyes drawn to the proposal dominating every public screen. The crystal-clear footage showed Emily's glistening tears, Ethan's signature perfectionism evident in every detail. During his final months of recovery, he'd sketched these plans while tracing Tessa's neck with cold fingers. When he'd asked her favorite flower, she said hyacinths. Yet the screens now drowned in crimson roses, the spotlight illuminating Emily's designer gown instead of Tessa's faded scrubs. The crowd erupted as Ethan knelt on screen, velvet ring box revealing a diamond that shamed Tessa's pathetic band. No wonder they called him Riverside's playboy. Who'd guess he'd get tamed like this? Tessa's knuckles whitened against the cardboard box she carried, old burns from spilled medication throbbing beneath her bracelet. Fireworks detonated above Riverside City as their lips met, the explosion's aftershock rippling through Tessa's bones. The girl finally noticed Tessa's pallor, releasing her with mumbled apologies she didn't stay to hear. Near the overflowing trash bin, Tess examined the ill-fitting ring she'd crafted from melted-down silverware during Ethan's darkest days. It clattered against coffee-stained filters without ceremony. Not one tear fell. Lucas Group security barred Tessa's usual entrance the next morning. HR shoved a box at her, whispering, "Mr. Lucas personally ordered your termination." Her former office now housed Emily's design studio, their intimate photos plastered over her old project timelines. Tess stumbled outside, corporate mementos scattering across pavement as paparazzi stampeded toward the golden couple. Emily's scarlet dress burned brighter than emergency exit signs, but Ethan's protective stance around her shoulders outshone everything. Reporters swarmed, "Miss Carter, how does it feel trending nationally for 7 straight days?" Her answer sliced deeper than 4 needles ever had. "I'm blessed to have stood by Ethan through his 2-year ordeal." Ethan's gaze softened in a way Tess had never seen during midnight panic attacks or failed physiotherapy sessions. He didn't correct her lie, the truth buried with Tessa's mother's medical bills he'd covered. As cameras flashed, Tess limped toward the bus stop, wrist imprint already fading where Emily's diamond now gleamed. Like wildfire swept by the wind, the commotion finally subsided at the river's edge. Camera flashes flickered and shutters clicked rapidly as paparazzi excitedly captured the moment when 2 lovers locked eyes across the crowd. Ethan suddenly turned, his gaze cutting through the sea of people to meet mine with glacial intensity. I returned his stare with a faint smile, feeling strangely weightless. His brow twitched involuntarily. Truthfully, I cherished those 2 years spent supporting Ethan through his darkest times. Now, every ounce of gratitude had been repaid. The taxi I'd called refused to arrive, and hunger pangs mixed with stomach cramps forced me to crouch roadside, cradling my injured hand already swelling with angry red marks. Emily held unique significance for Ethan, having known him since our school days when he was already crowned prince of the Lucas Group. I'd witnessed his countless flings, yet Emily remained the only woman he'd ever publicly claimed. Their reunion made bitter sense. A car horn shattered my thoughts. The black sedan's window rolled down to reveal Ethan's languid profile, his knuckles drumming the steering wheel. Stomach acting up again? My eyelashes fluttered in response. He sneered, contempt dripping from his voice. "Serves you right." I lowered my gaze, transported back to 2 years ago when this venomous version of Ethan last existed. Back then, he'd spat that my continued breathing was mercy enough. Only now did I understand his later tenderness had been performance art, fear that his caretaker might abandon him. Footsteps clicked behind me as Emily brushed past to claim the passenger seat. "Sorry, I'm late." "Ethan." Those vultures wouldn't let up. Noticing me mid-seatbelt adjustment, her voice faltered. "We should go. The gala's starting." Ethan's brow furrowed imperceptibly. "Fighting pain." I tilted my face upward for what I knew would be our final exchange. The engagement venue surpassed your original designs. Everything's perfect, even without the hyacinths. I paused. May your union last a century. The humor drained from Ethan's face, his grip whitening around the wedding band-adorned steering wheel as though I'd cursed rather than blessed him. Emily's gentle prodding broke the tension. Ethan, we're wasting time on irrelevancies. Tess. His voice sliced through the night air. Don't you dare regret this. When silence answered, he revved the engine with familiar reckless fury, tires screeching into darkness. 40 minutes later found me rigid in a luxury sedan's backseat, watching Ian meticulously dress my wounds. Does it hurt? His breath chilled my bandaged hand, making me flinch. I said it's fine. I insisted through clenched teeth. Ian leaned back with feline indolence. There's a charity ball tonight. I require company. Will Ethan be there? My question hung heavy. When he nodded, I stared at my gauzed palm. If you're using me to provoke him, prepare for disappointment. He stopped caring long ago. The heir to Yen Enterprises examined his cufflinks. You mistake my intentions. His smile didn't reach his eyes. This isn't about Ethan. It's about watching empires burn. Outside, Manhattan's skyline glittered like broken glass. Somewhere in that constellation of lights, Ethan's black sedan was weaving through traffic with the same dangerous elegance he'd once reserved for sports cars. And here I sat, the former Lucas loyalist, now conspiring with the architect of their ruin. Ian's reflection in the tinted window smirked at the city below. Shall we give them something real to photograph tonight? My voice was soft, stating facts quietly. Ian was toying with a lighter. The brief flare illuminated his knuckles as he said, "Not necessarily." I turned to watch the cityscape blurring past the window and smiled faintly. I remembered Ethan from when I was 17. He'd laughed with arrogant disdain in front of all his friends, declaring, "Tess? I could never like Tess." During my hours-long dress fitting, Ian remained present. His picky taste rejected over a dozen haute couture gowns. Though reluctant to attend the gala, I owed this to him. The Yen family's matriarch had taken me in when the Lucases expelled me empty-handed 2 weeks prior. When I emerged in the silver-white gown, its skirt cascading like the Milky Way, Ian's gaze finally stilled. His throat moved slightly. This one. The mirror revealed someone both foreign and familiar, dazzling where there'd always been muted simplicity. The perpetual background figure in Ethan's shadow now commanded attention. Ian stepped behind me, draping a necklace over my collarbones. His breath warmed my ear as he murmured, "This isn't about provoking them, Tess. Just proving Ethan isn't just paralyzed, he's blind." The gala lights caught Ian's sharp jawline as we entered late. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Since when does Ian bring dates? Until someone recognized me. Holy shit. Isn't that Ethan's mousy assistant? A crystal glass shattered. Ethan stood frozen, red wine soaking Emily's hemline. Her indignant gasp went ignored as he stared at me with unfamiliar intensity. When his gaze finally shifted to Ian, winter flooded those perpetually amused eyes. "Tess," Ethan commanded, reaching past Ian. "Come here." For years that voice had been my compass. But now I stood anchored. "I've given enough," I said gently, summer night air swirling between us. "We're done, Ethan." His face bleached of color as I turned away. The boy from the photograph on Mrs. Lucas' desk, all sharp angles and impatient beauty, had grown into a man who'd never truly seen me until this moment. He was as arrogant as a prince. The butler knocked abruptly, his expression strained. "Mrs. Lucas. Young Master Ethan has gone street racing again." Mrs. Lucas, preoccupied, nodded absently. "Fetch him back." The butler hesitated, clearly dreading the task. An adult nearby shoved Tess forward with an ingratiating smile. "Let Tess go along, Mrs. Lucas." She connects well with people her age. Only then did Mrs. Lucas' gaze land on Tess. She curled her trembling fingers into fists before nodding firmly. I can do it. Even if she couldn't. She had to try. They found Ethan racing along Mountain Loop Road. At 17, he already carried himself like royalty. His crimson-black motorcycle screeched to a halt inches from Tess. Summer dust swirling around his boots. He flipped up his helmet visor with a gloved finger, revealing drowsy, disdainful eyes. Country girl, he drawled. Who the hell are you? Tess' knees shook from near-collision terror. Tess Taylor. Amusement flickered across his face until she added, your mother sent me. His expression iced over. Ethan wasn't one to obey. But Tess matched his stubbornness. She waited roadside through 3 more reckless laps until, visibly irritated by her persistence, he finally tossed his helmet aside. Fine. Let's get this over with. Trailing behind his broad-shouldered silhouette, Tess memorized the cadence of his footsteps. Summer night air carried the faintest hint of his cologne cedar and rebellion. Ethan Lucas. The name tasted dangerous. Mrs. Lucas kept Tess as Ethan's shadow, hoping peer influence might curb his wild streak. He detested her presence, calling her mommy's spy. For 8 years, Tess endured his pranks and cold shoulders, brushing off tears to keep following. Annoying. He'd scoff, yet never shook her off completely. Everyone knew Ethan's reputation, the Lucas heir, leaving broken hearts across Manhattan, always trailed by that quiet girl ready to intercept his worst impulses. Tess studied relentlessly, met every one of Mrs. Lucas' expectations, and clung to Ethan's orbit like gravity. Her secret survived until graduation night beneath the jacaranda trees. Ethan leaned against the wrought iron gate, moonlight catching his smirk. You're into me. Petals caught in her hair as she froze. When she finally rasped yes, he simply laughed and walked away. That evening, she found him in a private lounge, sprawled across velvet cushions with his inner circle. His voice carried cruel clarity. Who'd want Tess? I'm into Emily Carter's type. Emily. The name shattered something fundamental. She'd skipped grades to enter Columbia early, believing effort could bridge any gap. Hearing Ethan's effortless dismissal, she finally understood some chasms can't be crossed. The 15-year-old who first saw Ethan racing toward disaster never imagined they'd still be locked in this toxic dance years later. Now, at his post-rehab comeback gala, tensions with Ian drew everyone's attention. Let's go, she whispered, tugging Ian's sleeve. Ethan's eyelashes flickered. She refused to meet his gaze. For the first time in all these years, he heard me say let's go to someone else while he was present. Only after walking quite a distance did I glance back. Ethan remained standing where he was, head bowed, looking as fragile and cold as when he'd woken from that car accident 2 years ago, the same crash that had taken Mrs. Lucas. Emily lifted her skirt hem as if to touch him, but froze under his backward glance. I chuckled. Ian arched an eyebrow. What's funny? Just realizing not everyone can do it. I murmured. Not everyone can endure Ethan's brooding temperament and princely airs. Not everyone who sees his darker side chooses to stay. Especially during his paralysis. Ethan, the golden boy who'd never known failure, couldn't accept becoming disabled. His laughter died. His spirit shattered. Worse yet, Mrs. Lucas, his only family, had perished in that crash. He lost the will to live, repeatedly attempting suicide. I smashed a glass and dragged the shard across my wrist. Want to die? Fine. I'll join you. Those obsidian eyes studied me with unfamiliar intensity before he finally gritted out. Tess. I'll recover. From that day, he committed to rehabilitation. 2 years later, he stood again and discarded his wheelchair. After the gala, Ian and I returned to the Yen estate. Grandma Yen had taken me in temporarily while I job hunted. Truthfully, Ian and I barely knew each other beyond my apologizing to the Yans whenever Ethan brawled with him. Grandma Yan would fan herself, saying boys will fight. Come sit, dear. I'd spend afternoons watching her apply medicinal oil to Ian's bruises. Sunlight pooling on the floorboards. Guilt heavy in my throat. Now here we were, rescued by the family I'd wronged. The car ride stretched silent. I sat prim as a schoolgirl, gaze fixed ahead until catching Ian's reflection eyes closed. Long lashes brushing cheeks. Neon lights briefly illuminating his face. He opened eyes sharp enough to catch my stolen glance. Embarrassed, I looked away. Ian suddenly laughed. Tess. Know what I first thought seeing you? How could I forget? He'd shouted it within Ethan's earshot. I nodded. You asked why I'd follow a blind man. That had sparked another fight. Shaking his head, Ian closed his eyes again. Only when I thought him asleep did he murmur. I thought, she's so gentle. At the cemetery, I cleared weeds from Mrs. Lucas' grave. The charity foundations you cared for are thriving. The gratitude letters could fill warehouses. Ethan's fully recovered walking. Running Lucas Group like before. He's engaged now. To Emily. Media's calling it the wedding of the century. A dewdrop trembled on my white chrysanthemum. Everything's moving forward. Only I remain stuck. The stone portrait smiled eternally. I touched the photo. I left Lucas Group. Are you disappointed? Silence answered. Graveyards understand death has no voice. I covered my face. Tears seeping through my fingers. Apart from the initial days, I hadn't been happy here at all. Sometimes I wondered, what if I hadn't topped that high school entrance exam? Then I wouldn't have come to this place. After crying silently for what felt like hours, I gathered my things to leave. When I stood up, I noticed Ethan standing 20 feet away, watching. The cemetery path forced me to walk past him. He'd probably come to visit Mrs. Lucas too. Our timing couldn't have been worse. I was brushing past him when he spoke. Crying at my mother's grave? The sneer died in his throat when I turned. Fresh tears glistened at the corners of my eyes. Ethan swallowed his words whole. We weren't always like this. This venom only surfaced twice before, first when discovered I'd been job hunting behind his back as his executive assistant. Second when he kicked me out of Lucas Mansion after that damned email. Once before the accident. Once after. 2 years apart. But I wasn't that heartbroken girl anymore. Meeting his gaze steadily, I asked the question younger me never dared. Ethan. Just because I never showed my feelings in front of you, did you really think I couldn't feel hurt? Did you actually believe I'd keep trailing after you forever like that 15-year-old girl? His lips pressed into a bloodless line. The hand at his side clenched rhythmically before he forced a mocking smile. Tess. You'll never repay this debt. You killed me, mother. Stop pretending. The drive home blurred. Ethan's final words kept ringing, that car crash wasn't an accident. Guess who betrayed the Lucas Group? My shaking hands opened the email containing Ethan's evidence. Security logs. Route details. That doctored photo of me with a rival executive taken days before the crash. They'd trusted me completely, the girl who grew up in Lucas Mansion. Ethan's shadow since adolescence. The only hole in their airtight security. I laughed bitterly, curling tighter in the passenger seat. Of course he'd proposed to Emily right after kicking me out. Of course he'd rather chase his ex than spareem another glance. I closed the laptop without defending myself. Useless anyway. If Ethan had bothered to dig deeper instead of stopping there, he would have discovered that I wasn't the only one who knew his whereabouts. Emily did too. Sleep came easier than expected. I'd been job hunting long before the accident, Emily's cruelty finally breaking me. As Ethan's first official girlfriend, she'd made my life hell. Imagine being slut-shamed before the entire company at 22. That's what Emily did when I refused her access to Ethan's office during confidential negotiations. Tess. She'd sneered. Slap echoing across marble floors. Ethan wouldn't glance at you naked. Get lost. Think clinging to the Lucas family'll save you from being trailer trash? You're just a pathetic stalker. The office door crashed open. She saw Ethan's itinerary. Next day. The accident happened. I never suspected her. Not when Ethan and Mrs. Lucas doted on her so. Now I understand, only the unloved obsess over repaying kindness. Those drowning in affection take it for granted. That's just the kind of person I am. I woke up to find the world turned upside down. With the top trending hashtag on social media being hashtag conspiracy behind Lucas family car crash in River City. People love feasting on wealthy family scandals. Especially after Ethan Lucas' storybook proposal dominated online discussions for weeks. An insider leaked that Ethan's car accident years ago wasn't accidental but a premeditated attack orchestrated by a rival conglomerate. The whistleblower claimed his former executive assistant Tess Taylor, reportedly a girl the Lucas family had sponsored for years, betrayed his whereabouts. Attached was a photo of me meeting with the rival conglomerate. Identical to the one in my inbox. The expose sounded so convincing you'd think they witnessed it firsthand. Emily Carter responded more restrained than before. Smiling gently on camera, Tess? I never liked her. But she clung to Ethan. We even fought over her once. Never imagined she'd do this. The lengthy interview insinuated I was a homewrecker. An ungrateful wretch straight out of some soap opera about the wealthy. Ethan stood beside her. Face impassive. I'd seen the comments. Raised that assistant for years only to get stabbed in the back, Mrs. Lucas must be devastated. Poor Emily. Having to walk on eggshells around some assistant during her own romance. Someone tracked down that bitch. What company would hire her now? Emily and Ethan's love story gives me faith in humanity. Someone snatched my phone. Ian studied my pale face. Stop scrolling. Grandma's waiting for dinner. My lips trembled. It wasn't me. He didn't hesitate. I know. Not placating, genuine belief. Interviews dried up overnight. Unless I cleared my name. Career suicide loomed. Only Yen Family Enterprises dared consider me. I'd applied everywhere during my job hunt. Them included. When I declined, Ian flipped through my resume without looking up. Why? My tarnished reputation would drag down any company. He turned, studying me before smiling ruefully. Tess. You're so dense. Before I could ask. Police escorted me away. The Lucas family pressed charges. Entering interrogation. I passed Ethan and Emily. She wore the desperate grin of a gambler all in, understandable. Having scrubbed her trail clean these past years. With me jailed. Their storybook romance could proceed uninterrupted. Viral proposal. Fairy tale wedding. Adoring public. Ethan's jaw clenched. Fingers trembling as he rubbed his thumb. He looked away. Eyes rimmed red. Hours of questioning laid my life bare. Beyond the photo. Manufactured evidence wove an airtight net. 10 days in holding, surprisingly peaceful. I slept like the dead. On day 10, the truth emerged. Besides the mobsters targeting the Lucas matriarch, Emily faced arrest. Karma's scales balanced. Blinking in sunlight outside police headquarters. Camera flashes blinded me. Reporters swarmed. Miss Taylor. Thoughts on Emily's betrayal? Were you in love with Ethan all those years? Who really nursed him through paralysis? Before I choked, Ian thrust chrysanthemums into my arms and shielded me into his car. Through the chaos, I glimpsed Ethan, haggard, vulnerable, answering the final shout. I whispered, no. The person who stayed with Ethan wasn't me. I gave up on him. From the very beginning. 10 days had passed. But it felt like a lifetime. The internet that once demanded my execution now watched as bombshell revelations surfaced. The first ripple came when someone leaked photos of Emily in Milan, exposing her carefully crafted lies. Everyone learned how she'd abandoned Ethan after his accident to pursue her serene life abroad while he struggled alone. Their supposed love story built on mutual support during hard times turned out to be Emily's calculated publicity stunt, leaving netizens utterly disgusted. The second wave hit when footage of Emily slapping me surfaced. The crystal-clear video showed her manic expression as she shoved me still clutching my swollen cheek away from Ethan's office. Her polished image as a charismatic career woman shattered overnight. Rumor had it Emily went into hiding, dodging endless condemnation. When police finally cleared my name and issued a warrant for Emily, those same companies that rejected me came crawling back. I declined them all, even the Yans. The call from my hometown high school principal, a woman as admirable as Mrs. Lucas, felt like destiny. As I packed my remaining belongings at the Lucas estate, sunlight streamed through spotless windows onto fresh-cut flowers. The hidden photograph made me pause teenage Ethan laughing with friends, glancing back as if checking if someone followed. 17-year-old me thought summer breezes couldn't be captured, but film proved otherwise. I left it on the polished wood, letting Ethan decide its fate. Purple jacaranda blossoms rained down as Ethan appeared, shadows under his bloodshot eyes. The arrogant air I knew had vanished, replaced by this broken man whispering Tess, like a prayer. His cracked confession about the investigation, the staged proposal, none of it surprised me. You knew it was wrong, I said gently, but my forgiveness seemed guaranteed. His tears fell when I showed the scarred wrist his mother's crash protection had spared. Live well, Ethan. Honor her legacy. Cicadas hummed as I boarded the bus home. His final text "I'll repay everything" vanished into blocked contacts. The Lucas Group stock plummeted as news broke about Ethan's self-inflicted car crash. Through dusty windows, the landscape blurred like my first arrival in the city. Summer winds never look back. The reflection on the window glass showed the person beside me. Ian seemed fond of napping, now reclining with his eyes closed. For a CEO to personally supervise school supply donations was one thing, but insisting on squeezing onto the same bus with me to escort the shipment? I couldn't stop him from tagging along. As the bus swayed, Ian's head came to rest on my shoulder without waking him. I smiled faintly, gazing ahead at the shifting scenery yet feeling absolute certainty I'd be welcoming countless summers ahead.